In this video, I think I have 5 weapons that are pretty underrated in this meta. So you have your very top tier weapons, like say the R99, the Wingman, maybe even R301, the guns that are thought of as pretty much unbeatable. But I think I have 5 guns today that are thought of not nearly as high as they should be. In certain situations, I can absolutely clap the top tier weapons. So with my top 5, how it's gonna work is I'm gonna start off at number 5, the least underrated on my list, and work all the way up to number 1. The number 1 and 2 spot, I think they're so good that you should be bringing them into endgame, and I really never see these guns really ever brought into endgame. So let's get into the top 5 underrated weapons in Apex Legends. I'm Alarmix, and let's get into the video. So starting off at number 5, I don't think this one's going to be too underrated, but I think as we go a little bit higher in the list, it's going to get a lot more underrated. But at number 5, we have the double tap EVA-8. So the normal EVA-8, I think the main thing wrong with it versus the other shotguns like the Mastiff and the Peacekeeper, you can't really peek corners with it. Also with the EVA-8, it seems a lot harder to hit people at range. Like, you have to be very close to do damage with the EVA-8. But fun fact, the EVA-8 is actually tied for the fastest shotgun projectile speed with the Peacekeeper. It turns out the Mastiff projectile speed is a lot slower than the EVA-8s and the Peacekeepers. Unpopular opinion coming from me, I actually really liked the move of putting the Peacekeeper as a care package weapon and putting the Mastiff in the normal drops, because now I think the EVA-8 double tap is almost the Peacekeeper of Season 5. Like I said, the one huge drawback with the EVA-8 is you have to get very close, but when you get the double tap on and you get close to the enemies, I promise you this thing will absolutely shred. You may have tried the EVA-8 before and you may think it's garbage, and if you think this, I encourage you to try it again, because if you get very close and you get the double tap going, it's so good. And fun fact, the EVA is actually the highest damage per second shotgun out of all of the shotguns. It does 126 DPS, while the Mastiff, it does 104. So with the burst mode, you have a damage cap of 126 damage per burst. That's so much damage. So if you shove the barrel of the EVA in someone's face, that's the best way to do it, and you pull the trigger, as long as you have decent aim, you should be absolutely clapping these kids. The whole problem with the EVA is that it's extremely unversatile. You have to be very close to make this thing work. But if you use a legend like Octane, or you just figure out how to get close enough to the enemies, or if you just find a situation where you can get extremely close, like, there's not a whole lot of guns in the game that can damage this fast. So the base EVA with just a double tap, it will do a max of 126 damage per second. But if you get, like, say a purple bolt on it, this thing will kill so fast. I know I was just shooting mannequins in the firing range, and that's way different than shooting actual people, but it was taking me so long to get gameplay for this video and to actually find a double tap and an EVA in game and get gameplay with it. And that's kind of the huge problem with this, is that you have to get the hop up to make the EVA-8 work. I don't think the EVA-8 is that great of a weapon without the double tap, but if you happen to put an EVA-8 and the double tap together in game, especially with a shotgun bolt, I think, and especially if you're running a legends like Octane where you can get in very close range, I think this is certainly an endgame weapon. I mean, as long as you're not playing like ranked or anything. At number 4, what I think is the 4th most underrated weapon, here we have the L-Star. So the L-Star here in Season 5, I think it is a decent bit better than Season 4's L-Star. The thing is that they didn't really put the changes to the L-Star in the Season 5 patch notes. So what we know for sure is that the L-Star, it is 100% accurate when flying through the air, falling, or when you're riding on zip lines. Go in the firing range with a friend and, like, put a zip line down, and you can completely laser people with the L-Star when you're on a zip line like no other gun in the entire game. It's super broke and it's super fun to do. Like, you can be flying off an Octane jump pad and just laser the heck out of people in midair, and they really won't be able to do a whole lot about it. The Apex community is also speculating that they slightly reduced the muzzle flash on the L-Star from Season 4 to Season 5. Statistically, the L-Star is actually one of the better guns in this game, but there's a couple of things about it that really do bring it back a little bit. So first of all, the projectile speed on the L-Star, it's really slow. It takes the bullets a little while to get where you want them to go. Overall, I don't think that's too huge of a problem for how you should be using the L-Star. I think the projectile speed really only is a big pain when you're at, like, mid-range and someone is really strafing you. I think you should be using this at more of a close medium range, like a close/medium range. The hip fire on the L-Star is also not that great. Like, after you hold it down for a while, the hip fire box gets absolutely huge. I think it's so much better if you just aim down sights while you're using this gun in most situations. But fun fact, this gun has more damage per second than the Spitfire. The Spitfire does 162 damage per second and the L-Star does 180. And also, because it's an LMG, it has a 2 times headshot multiplier. So like the R99 and like say the Alternator and the Prowler, they only have a 1.5 times headshot multiplier, which really isn't that much. So the L-Star is going to do 36 damage to the head, obviously, depending on what helmet they have on. But people, the L-Star fires 10 bullets per second, and if you're doing 36 damage per bullet to the head, it's not going to take long whatsoever to kill someone. I think if you put a 1 or 2 times optic and get in closer range, this gun is pretty underrated. You can absolutely shred people. The reason I have the L-Star as the 4th most underrated weapon versus the 3rd, it's because so often in game, I just get obliterated from the side by an L-Star. I do like this gun quite a bit. If you're in a closer medium range and you watch the overheat on this gun, you don't let it overheat. I think it certainly has a place in the meta, and I hear so often people calling the L-Star completely unusable, completely trash. I think you should be looking for gun upgrades over this gun, but overall, I think it is certainly still viable and can compete with pretty much every gun in this meta if you are in the right situation. But very quickly before we get into the next weapon, if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, it would be super cool if you go below this video and hit that subscribe button. We do a bunch of random Apex Legends stuff on my channel. People, at number 3, what I think is the 3rd most underrated gun in all of Apex Legends, this is the Charge Rifle. So the Charge Rifle, I see it all of the time at the very bottom of tier lists. I think there is a decent reason to put this at the bottom of tier lists, but I think the Charge Rifle certainly has a place in this game. So the reason I think people think so lowly on the Charge Rifle is because if you get this gun off the drop and try to use it close range, it is certainly kind of unusable. You know, with guns like the Longbow, the Sentinel, you can kind of peek corners and quickly pop shots and kind of use it like a shotgun, but the Charge Rifle really isn't so much like that. The Charge Rifle is the very high damage per shot, very long range weapon that they meant this gun to be. At obviously close and even medium range, you're gonna get completely outgunned if you're trying to use a Charge Rifle unless you have like a godly peek spot or something. But I think one of the main reasons that pro players use the G7 is not only to try to get kills with it, but to drain enemy resources. And I think the Charge Rifle, that's what it's good for, not for getting kills, not for medium range engagements, but at long range, you can bug the heck out of people and drain shields and ammo resources and pretty much everything like nothing. So say you're in end game and there's a couple of squads left, you know where they are, and you know you're not going to get third partied. I think the Charge Rifle is probably the best gun to have in that situation, saying you're at long range. You can either completely drain the resources on another team, or you could have even another squad mate on your team have some sort of long range gun. You can focus fire on the same player and wreck the heck out of them. I think another reason that Charge Rifle is thought so lowly of is because, you know, one full burst, it'll do maybe 80 damage at super long range. That's not enough to kill someone, but if you have another squad mate have a long range gun like the Charge Rifle and you focus fire, you can certainly get downs. But like I said, even if you have one person on your squad with a Charge Rifle, you're gonna be so annoying to the other squad. You might even get in their head and get them super annoyed and make them commit suicide on you or something. Like, I hate dealing with the Charge Rifle at long range. It's so stupid, and I really don't think the Charge Rifle gets near the credit that it should. The second most underrated gun in Apex Legends, as you know, in my opinion, this is gonna be the Hemlock. I think the Hemlock is stupid underrated. I'm gonna give you some stats behind the Hemlock why I think it's so good, and because stats are only stats, I'm gonna give you, you know, further elaboration why I think the Hemlock is very underrated. So people, to start it off, because it's an assault rifle, it's gonna have a 2x headshot multiplier. So one single bullet of the Hemlock to the head has a max damage of 44. Like, that's completely stupid. The projectile speed on the Hemlock is better than both the R301 and the Flatlines. You can completely deck out this gun in whatever attachments you may feel need fit. The Hemlock is supposed to be the DMR next to the G7 Scout, but the Hemlock does 180 damage per second while the G7 does only 136. And you know about this, whenever people talk about the Hemlock, it seems like they always talk about this. The semi-auto on the Hemlock, you can shoot it so fast now. There's really nothing else like it in the entire game. Also, the hip fire on the Hemlock, it is so stupid. Like, using the hip fire Hemlock, especially on burst and close range, it is so satisfying. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it seems like the hip fire Hemlock, I know it's something special. But people, here's an interesting stat for you. Given that each Hemlock bullet, you know, it's heavy ammo versus the R301's light ammo, each Hemlock bullet's gonna do a decent bit more damage. And also, the max max capacity on the Hemlock being at 30 bullets in one mag and the R301 being only 28, this means that each mag of the Hemlock you're going to be able to do way more damage. There's way more room to miss with the Hemlock versus the R301. The R301 can do a max of 392 damage to the body given it's a purple mag and given you do only body hits. And with the Hemlock, with a fully maxed out purple mag, and if you hit all of your body shots, it has a max damage of 660. This means you can whiff so many bullets and still get a kill. That's what I found great about the Hemlock in endgame. I was shooting so much, I was missing. You know, I'm not quite the greatest at this game, but I was still picking up quite a few easy kills. You know, with guns like the R301 and the R99, you kind of have to be careful about your aim. If you miss too much, you're just not going to have enough bullets in the mag to get that kill. But with the Hemlock, it is a DMR. You can sit there, spam it at long range, and you're going to have so much ammo and damage in that mag. It's going to be kind of a little bit hard not to kill the enemies. I really think that the Hemlock is a very borderline top tier weapon that should be brought into endgame. And I feel like the Hemlock, it's really never brought into the endgame. I really encourage you to try to deck out the Hemlock, you know, with a 2x, a gold barrel, a purple heavy mag, and you will see how forgiving this gun is. You can miss so much, but the headshots on this do so much damage. You have so many bullets in the mag. I think the Hemlock is just so good in this meta, and I do not believe it gets near the credit that it deserves. And at number 1, what I think is quite easily the most underrated weapon in all of Apex Legends, we have the Burst Prowler. So I don't think the Prowler full auto is underrated in any way. I think people well know when you get the Prowler full auto, I mean, it's a pretty decent like R301 alternative. It's almost a little bit better than what the R301 does in almost every way. But people, the Burst Prowler, I think it almost might be, and certainly in close range, better than the full auto Prowler. I think there's a little bit confusion on how much damage per second that the Burst Prowler does. I was looking at a bunch of different websites and people had a bunch of really low numbers on DPS on the Burst Prowler at like 122 DPS or like 150 DPS, and they were all like different numbers. It was kind of stupid. So your boy Alarmix went into firing range, recorded, and the very frame where I shot the first bullet, I clipped it, and the very frame where the dummy died, I clipped it there. And the clip from the very first bullet to where the dummy died, it was exactly 1 second. People, if the enemy has a purple or a gold shield, you can shoot 3 bursts of the Prowler in 1 second, and that is enough to kill the enemy. The Burst Prowler kills super quick. It is almost like the fully rezzed up Devotion, except you don't have to res it up and you can pick it off the floor whenever you want. As the EVA-8, the Burst Prowler is for very close range, but you don't have to be as close as you have to be with the EVA-8. If you get into close range, I am pretty sure there is no other gun in Apex Legends that can kill in 1 second. That is like Call of Duty kill times. Apex Legends in general is a pretty long time to kill game, but the Burst Prowler makes this look like, you know, a very short time to kill game. If you have a Burst Prowler, you don't even have to be in extreme close range. It just has to be close range. You know, you can't be using this in any sort of medium range. You will beat out any shotgun in the game. The EVA-8, the Mastiff, the R99 cannot kill as fast as the Burst Prowler. In the gameplay, you can see I wasn't even hitting all of my shots. It does take a little bit of practice to where every time you shoot, you have to pull down your aim just a little bit. It's not like with the R99, you can constantly be pulling down your aim. I think it does take a little bit more skill to use the Burst Prowler, but it's not near impossible to use. It's pretty easy to get the hang of, and this gun will shred pretty much faster than any gun in the entire game. And I feel like people think about the Burst Prowler as some, like, not very good weapon. I think when people see the Prowler, they see that you need to get it on full auto, and I completely disagree with that respectfully. I love using the Prowler in game. I think it's easily a top weapon in Apex, and when I get even a select fire with the Prowler, I usually keep it on burst. Like I said, I think other than like a fully rezzed up Devotion, the Prowler kills faster than any gun in the entire game. Like, people, even if you're going up against Asu in close range, I should be a little bit careful about saying this. If he has an R99, a wingman, whatever it may be, and you have the Burst Prowler and you have decent aim, you will kill faster and just completely outgun and give zero chance to the enemy. If you don't use the Burst Prowler on a regular basis, or if you haven't tried using it in very close range, you know, you can use it in, you know, kind of close range, but if you shove the barrel in their face, you know, that's where this gun really excels. I highly recommend you to try it, and I don't think you will regret it. And remember to credit your boy Alarmix for this. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, it means so much if you hit that subscribe button. If you like Apex Legends, I think you will enjoy my channel. If you go below this video and hit that subscribe button, you would be a G for it. And that'll be about it for me, the Alarmix, and I'll see you guys later.